John, we want to get your thoughts on the reports today that the U.S. Open will go on as scheduled. What was your reaction?
Yeah, we were all waiting for this, and I was just glancing on my phone. There's been a lot of chatter, a lot of traffic. No official report, yes, but I've spoken with people in White Plains, and this is as good as on. And I think the question is going to pivot to who's going to be coming, which players are going to commit, and then there are still so many unanswered questions. I mean, selfishly, there's a question: what is the media situation going to be like? What do you tell the journalists who are overseas? What's going to be the state of data on the court? I mean, there are still so many unanswered questions. But top line, there's going to be a 2020 U.S. Open, and we can debate asterisks. We can look and speculate who's going to be in the draw, but the tournament's going to happen. And if you're a fan of the sport, we can have trepidation about the state of COVID, and we can sort of there are a number of warnings, but the flip side is this is good for tennis. So credit to the USTA. It looks like we're going to have our second major played starting in late August, guys. Tracy, you're the former champion on the panel here. I'm curious where you stand on all of this.
Gosh, I have just so much uncertainty. I think 2 months down the road, we don't know where we're going to be. In the last 2 months, so many things have changed. I would like to see more of the top players commit. I really don't want to see a U.S. Open that's so watered down. It's like Jan Kodesh when he won Wimbledon in '73 when there was a boycott and most of the top players didn't play. Although I will say, people think of Jan Kodesh as a Wimbledon champion. So this is a huge opportunity for maybe some of the lower ranked players to break in and maybe get that first major. But as you said, John, I mean, you really highlighted, there's so many questions still. And I think the players are going to have to sift through those in the next couple of weeks and make a decision with their team. One of those decisions, I was talking to a coach last week, and he was saying, are they going to bring the physio or are they going to bring the coach? Because the physio in one of the first tournaments back, if they do play 1 week before, is going to be maybe more important for these players physically to keep their body in shape.
Yeah, I think for me, from my point of view, look, it's pretty impressive that the USTA has been able to pivot. It's not historically been an organization that kind of is able to jump around and change things very quickly. So I give them a lot of credit. They've worked extremely hard to try to figure out what can and can't be done. I think one of the things we all have to realize is kind of that was then, this is now. Things are very different. I think everything that we see and we participate in is going to be like a staircase. This is just one step. This isn't the do-all or end-all. This is a step towards a new beginning, whatever that new beginning and new reality is. I love the idea that there's an opportunity for players to play. First and foremost, we have to make sure everyone is safe. I think the challenge has been is that U.S. Open needs a lot of time to lead into the event to make everything work, but we don't know what's going to happen a couple months from now. So they're asking for players to commit now, but the players don't know what's going to happen a couple months from now. I love that there's an opportunity. I love that the USTA has tried to be creative to get this done. And I'm trying to embrace the fact and the possibility that this is very different. We have to understand it's going to be very different. It's not going to be what was. So let's see what we can do to make this as good as possible and try to support it.
John, Novak Djokovic, world number one on the men's side, has called the potential restrictions at the U.S. Open extreme. When you look at what went on this weekend with the Adria Tour in Belgrade, Serbia, a lot of folks thought that was extreme. These scenes, what goes through your mind when you see them, John?
Yeah, either Serbia has a much different COVID situation than the rest of the world, or else, yeah, exactly what you said. I mean, there was a statement that was made. I don't know if it was intentional, but we saw not a lot of masks. We saw players high-fiving. We saw hugs. We saw ball kids. We saw, not a lot of social distancing. Maybe that was to make a statement. Maybe that was oversight. But I think one issue that tennis is going to have, again, this is a connected global sport. And it's one thing to say, hey, Serbia is a different situation than the United States or than France. They can handle their own. But these players are crossing borders. These players are mingling with fans. These players have tours. They have teams. They have entourages. It's not quite that simple. So I think a lot of people were concerned by what they saw in Serbia. On the other hand, it certainly sent a statement that tennis was back and that we resumed normalcy. I mean, whether that was responsible or not, we can debate, but a message was definitely sent. And I think, too, this went beyond tennis. I mean, you watch social media. there were a lot of people that picked up on the scene there, and then the fact that there wasn't social distancing. And again, you could say it's irresponsible, and people just as easily said, hey, listen, we're back. So a message was sent, and people can interpret it how they like.
Yeah, John, I mentioned before that I thought it was jarring. I mean, it feels like we went from 0 to 60 so quickly. We saw the UTR in Florida, and there were no ball kids, and the players picked up their own balls. Here, there were ball kids, and the sweaty towels were thrown to them. There were fans, and it wasn't even every 6 seats. It was, fans right next to each other, and then on top of that, no mask, players hugging when they embraced at the net, shaking hands with the umpire. So you go on and on and on down the line, and it was very different from what we're even seeing in Nice at Muratoglu's UTS event. So I don't know, something that was a little bit difficult from everything that we've gone through here in the United States.
Yeah, I loved seeing the tennis, Tracy, but I'm a little bit at a loss just because of the statement that John's talking about. I think it was a pretty profound statement that was made. And last time I checked, I don't think that there's a cure or a vaccine yet for COVID-19. And last time I checked, there was still some cases there. It hasn't disappeared totally. So I know the health restrictions were lifted. I think it was premature. I love seeing the tennis, but not a huge fan of the statement that was made.
No, we shall see what happens maybe 14 days from now.